Cheers, everyone. Well, I stated once before that it was the last show of season 5, and I was wrong because I forgot about the 2 Grenada episodes. And I've done Frigate Island now, and this should be the last episode from season 5. Again, calling the Survivorman series various seasons is a little bit arbitrary because it changed whether it was on television or DVD or YouTube or international distribution. Doesn't matter. Here we are, for all intent and purposes, at the end of season 5, about to watch Grenada Jungle. But I will stay right off the top. This is one of those ones where, yes, I could have just walked out. If I wanted to, I could have walked. I walked in, I could walk out. But that wasn't the point, now was it? And so I was off in the jungle, sort of in the center of Grenada, south center sort of thing, away from people. So I couldn't see people where I was, couldn't hear people where I was. I was, long enough that it would be arduous to get out, but I could have walked out. However, that's not what I'm there for. I'm there for Survivorman. So let's begin, shall we? If you want to watch the full episode without me yapping at you, go on the playlist. You can watch the whole episode without me interrupting. And while you're at it, you're checking out my YouTube channel, hop over to my Les Stroud Music YouTube channel and subscribe. Jungle survival. These are the cloud forests of the island of Grenada, where fire ants are your nemesis. Fresh water is abundant, but tainted by sulfur, and weather is always unpredictable. My mission is to survive here in this incredibly diverse mountain jungle terrain. The southern Grenada Islands are situated between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean, northeast of Venezuela. Shrouded in mist, the jungle is veiled from the sun by thick blankets of cloud. It is possible to walk out of these hills and down to the coast, but I'm here to test myself in this tropical island jungle. And if you ever get the chance, do visit Grenada. It's really quite a beautiful place to visit.
Grenada, it's a small island country. That's a group of islands, really. But it's big on nature. It's got tropical, desert-like islands, beautiful palm trees, sandy beaches, and it's got a ridge of mountains running right down the center of the main island. And those mountains are covered in cloud forest. And that's where I've got to survive now. Here in Grenada. Welcome to the jungle.
In jungles around the world. Don't you wish I had the rights to the GNR song when I said that and could have just gone right into the riff? Dun, 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 dun. Would have been good.
World, I've become used to a few things. Being hot, wet, afflicted with rashes and fungus, or constantly bitten, stung, or crawled on, mostly by ants.
But speaking of Guns N' Roses, their producer, Mike Klink, who produced all the Guns N' Roses albums, also produced my album Mother Earth and my album Bitter Lake, and is producing an upcoming album. So little sideways trivia for you there. Oh, look at that pack. So that is my waterproof pack for my camera gear. I have that still with me downstairs. And I've been debating whether I should put it up for maybe a charity for an auction if somebody wants to own one of the Survivorman camera packs. Let me know down below if you think I should do something like that. Because a lot of the stuff I had from the Survivorman years is just long gone. I wish I'd held on to a few things, certain fire bows and packs and even some cameras. It would have been fun to auction those off.
Funny thing about these buttresses on these trees is they look so magical. They actually look inviting, but it's not a good place for me to survive the night. It's just horrible ground, nothing's flat, and a lot of critters like to go in here. Spiders, snakes. Beautiful tree, but not a good place to survive.
Which, by the way, brings something to point, is that I've never seen any indigenous culture, group of people that are in the jungles that use those for shelters. Maybe they exist, maybe somebody else can show a picture of one, but I've never seen them use those as a base or as part of a shelter. And I think the reality is that the creatures just love them so much, there'd be no point. You'd be crawled upon all night long.
I'm looking for flat ground. It's always sounds in the jungle, Always sounds. And when you're not familiar with them, they're kind of freaky.
Well, that's an interesting point. When it comes to being comfortable in a survival situation and comfortable in the wilderness, so much comes down to sound. You put me in well, a lot of places now, of course, but certainly, say, in Ontario, Canada, I could tell you what every sound is. Every single one. And you know, with my experience, I've gotten to the point where I can hear something walking in the woods, and I can say to you, that's a raccoon. You know, that's a coyote. That's a bear. I can tell the difference. And a little side, here's a funny one as well. Just to tell you how often I've been crawled upon, I can blindfolded, put my arm out, put something on my arm, and I can tell you whether or not it's an ant, a spider, a mosquito, or a tick, just by feeling the crawl. It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
Ring here. This will have to do. Rock in the way, but little body-sized area here that's flat. Really got to watch for tok-tok ants. They just crawl along the ground, along the trees. Well, one thing's for sure, you know it when you find one. Okay, I'm gonna have to get used to sitting without sitting, because the ground is always crawling with something.
Ecosystems are living, breathing entities unto themselves, but jungles exemplify this concept and exist as the most rich and obvious example of a land alive and moving.
With the sun going down, I'm not gonna take a lot of time to go through all my pack. I'm gonna do that in the morning. This time, got this guy here. Simple orange garbage bag, because this is a cloud forest. And clouds mean rain.
And I know that, you know, in this situation, I realized, you know, I've never really shown just using an orange garbage bag, at least not that often. So, okay, I'm going to a rainy area, going in Grenada. What could I use in there? What can I show off? What can I teach about? And I thought, all right, well, let's put the advantage on my side and go with the orange garbage bag, which should help a lot when it comes to the torrential downpours that are inevitable.
I'm gonna need more than this, that's for certain. Well, I've got a machete.
Each type of landscape requires its own version of a cutting tool that works well. And in the jungle, it's always going to be a machete.
Yeah, that's very, very true. You know, oh, what's your favorite knife? Where am I going? It depends. For example, outside right now in Canada in the wintertime, which what happens to be that time of year, I want an axe. I don't want a knife, I want an axe. Don't want a machete either, I want an axe. Down in the jungle, always a machete. Other situations, like maybe a desert, well, maybe just a knife. You know, so the ecosystem will determine what kind of cutting tool you should have with you.
Uh-oh. Oh, here comes the rain. Already. That's not fair. I'm not ready. Oh boy, I can hear it. I do not want to spend the night wet. Not much of a shelter, but it'll have to do. Yeah, here comes some rain.
This speaks, by the way, you know, to my shelters. I've always said my shelters suck. They always do. No, they're not. They don't suck if you give me the time. You know, you see some of this stuff that people are doing now in their bushcrafting. You know, Outdoor Boys, for example. The shelters look phenomenal, but first of all, they're not being made in one day. Bear that in mind. Those things are not being made in one day. But they are being made with tools and a full belly and energy and water. Big, huge difference. So when I would go out and do recreational survival, my shelters would be pretty sexy. But in Survivorman, I had to run all of the camera gear, film the story, everything that's going on, and made it very, very difficult to make really cool shelters. So my shelters, I got to admit, throughout the whole Survivorman era, I think my shelters suck. Now, did they work? Yes. So it does show you that they can work. And the reality is most people's shelters suck, especially at first, especially if you've never made one before. If you're making them all the time, and if you have, as I say, food, water, and tools, well, you can make a house, right? So that was kind of one thing that was always a little bit of a disappointment to me in Survivorman, was that I couldn't make a real sexy shelter. There's another guy on YouTube that's doing all these different shelters. I remember he did one, I really didn't even watch it. I don't know why people watch those for so long. I'm like, okay, I get it. And I don't watch them, but I've seen them, snippets of them. And he did one completely out of plastic, I think. He just saran wrap or something like that. You know, to him, kudos, man. It's like these guys are having fun out there. I couldn't do that. I was teaching survival. And they're often doing it under the guise of teaching survival, and that's kind of not fair because they have tools, they have food, they have water. They're basically just glorified camping alone. I mean, full 4-season sleeping bags, you're good for the year. And someday when I do my talk on the other shows, such as Alone, I'll talk about that, about when you have supplies with you and how long you can really last. So, yeah, shelters, man, they take all day and they're labor intensive. I really don't like having to make shelters, to be honest with you. Cover up the camera. It can really pelt down here, so. And of course I got a rip in this. Shoot. That's not good. This is a survival bracelet of sorts. Now, I've brought this out basically to test it out. Rain's coming in, and I need rope. Now, how do I undo this? Now, I remember wanting to show this bracelet on purpose. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the survival bracelets with the little stuff inside and the twisted up rope and that. And I'll tell you why. Maybe I say it on this show, I can't remember, but I'll tell you why when we get into it. Okay, so this one actually, the rope is wrapped around a little miniature tinfoil wrapped survival kit inside. Welcome to the world of filmmaking. Just hold off, Rain, hold off. I see a lot of people wearing these bracelets now. I'm a big fan of any survival item that you can wear on your body, carry with you easily and not have to put in a pack. But you gotta learn how to take them apart. With rain threatening, I cut it so I could get it apart faster. I hopefully didn't do something stupid.
It's often thought that there are black and white answers to what someone must do in a survival situation, but there never is. It'll always be an ordeal fraught with variables and circumstances that'll dictate what my next move is. It's equal parts preparation, proactivity, and reacting to whatever I have to face.
This is the little survival kit that comes with it. Put you away till a later date. And all I really lost was a piece this big, so obviously I cut it in the right spot to get this rope. So I don't think I talk about it too much. But, you know, so why am I not a fan of those braided survival bracelets and belts and so on? Because they're a pain in the butt. When, like in this situation, that rain was coming in. I had to hurry. You can't hurry with those things. For me, I'd rather just have a kit. You know, rope that, I mean, think about it. Any items that are in a survival, speak less, any items that are in a survival kit, you need in a situation that's important and vital and might be life or death. So you don't want to have to be fiddling, trying to get something undone or a lid open or anything like that, or have something that's flimsy that's going to break. Your survival items, I could go on, this whole director's commentary could be on items in survival kits. And there is. I did do a full video on this YouTube channel. Just go Survivorman or Survival Kit, and it'll come up somewhere in a playlist, where I dissect survival kits, including my own, okay? But the point being that you should think of them like they're a first aid kit. You know, you don't keep crap in a first aid kit because you know you might need to, you know, repair an injury of some sort. You want to have good stuff. And it's the same thing with survival gear. Don't buy the junk that you get, you know, in Canadian Tire or some store, Walmart, where it's just a little kit, a little big, you know, red kit or something like that. And say, oh, survival kit, all in one. Don't do it. They're crap. Every survival expert that's come out with these kits, they're crap. And the reason why they're crap is because to have a proper survival kit, it's over $100, and these things are, you know, $12.75. You know, that you can't, a proper survival kit is not going to cost $13. You tend to spend well over $100 on survival kit equipment. And any real survival instructor out there that's worth their salt knows that I speak the truth. This little guy will make your own kit. Don't buy a pre-made one. But even a pebble will work. Take it, put it in, wrap the plastic around it. Like this, like this. Put that through. I better start hurrying and stop teaching because here comes the rain, I think. Oh, you know what? It's actually pouring out there. Oh, you son of a...
Jungle rain rarely announces itself as coming. They just happen every single day.
I'm in it now. I'm in the jungle. I just hope I can survive without getting too soaking wet.
Rain combined with heat brings the potential for rashes and fungus infections.
Jungle rains. I have a feeling that this is the way the week's gonna go.
Rain, lack of sleep, insect bites, injuries. I have to constantly pay attention to the odds stacking up against me.
Well, it stopped raining. Well, there's no way I'm gonna be able to sleep in this cacophony tonight. And the no-see-ums are out and biting. Little tiny biting flies. Lots of them. I'm just gonna wait this night out. Try and find myself a good rock to curl up on tomorrow. Middle of the day. In the shade. That's the thing about survival. You always end up needing to sleep in the middle of the day because you don't really sleep through the nights.
Yeah, the loudness, the sheer volume of the critters in the jungles of this world let's put it this way. If you are on a jungle expedition, take earplugs and you can sleep like a baby, because otherwise it's so loud that, for me anyway, it becomes incredibly difficult to sleep through.
And tomorrow night I better have a better shelter.
It's rare that anyone does the right thing on the first night of a survival ordeal. Shelters aren't considered until it's too late. Fire is forgotten until it's too dark to find wood. And inevitably, the scene is set for what comes next. Surviving with little sleep, which compromises my ability to make good decisions.
And so that is something that I've had to remind a lot. Let me put it this way. I will see the post of somebody who doesn't know my work, who just sees like one show and it's like trying to rip me a new one sort of thing, because they've been busy watching Naked and Afraid or something. And they want to give me advice on survival, and they don't get, why wouldn't you just do this? It's, all right, again, understand the premise here. The premise most of the time for Survivorman was for me to put myself in your shoes and be someone without the equipment, without the experience, without the knowledge. And that way I can go through things a little more realistically that you can relate to. Well, the true reality is that you don't find yourself on day one of a survival situation and maybe figuring that out at 4 p.m. and all of a sudden you're building a beautiful shelter, or even getting a fire going. I mean, most of the time, the first night of survival for anyone is spent sitting up against a tree, miserable, cold, tired, scared. So for me, I often, I purposely didn't attempt to be a survival guru on the first day, because that wouldn't be realistic. So let me get myself into the mess, into the mistake zone, so that I could then show you, at least from that point moving forward, how to fix things and get out of it.
It rained pretty much all night long. I mean, it was off and on, but when it came down, it bucketed down. I mean, it gave me a few minutes in between each time. I huddled in underneath here, just stayed in real close, and I managed to stay dry just barely. And the major bonus was that all night long, it filled up with rainwater. I just kept guzzling. That one had a bug in it. Ugh. I've got a few items with me here, not much. Backpack to carry my camera gear. Got rain gear, a change of socks, and one t-shirt. I've got my machete and a way to sharpen it. I've got a file with it. Super important. Metal cup. My harmonica. And I had a bottle of water last night, but it's empty now. If there's some more clean water in here without bugs in it, I'll fill it up. Take some more water with me. I've got to go deeper into the jungle, and here, going deeper means going up. Oh, that's good. And going up, there's not likely to be much water.
On a small jungle island, I've chosen to stay deep in the mountainous interior to survive whatever Grenada has in store for me. But trekking through terrain like this is always tough going and full of surprises, most of them painful.
That's where I'm headed. Up there.
There are little tiny, they call them tracks, little tiny trails riddled throughout these jungles, but it's tough to stay on them. They're small and not very noticeable. Away we go, straight up. It's so steep I'm gonna have to use handholds to get up, and I don't.
That's one of the trickiest things. First of all, the most difficult thing in survival filming is filming the travel components. Really tough to do. Time consuming. You try to get the wide shots and so on and so forth. Very difficult. But add to that trying to film yourself climbing up any hill, rock face, whatever. Incredibly difficult, and it was always hard to capture these.
I don't have a hand to hold because one's got the camera, the other one's got the machete. Just a morning jaunt. A little stroll in the park. Snap an ankle here. That's the end of it. Nobody's coming to get me. No one will know where to find me.
And the reason for that is because I'm now nowhere near where the crew left me off. And it's kind of like, well, you can go up there, you can go in there. And that's what I did. I went in there. And they would have no idea which trail I was going to take, where I was going to come out, or any of that. So even though I was technically able to walk out from this location, if I snapped an ankle right now, I'm stuck.
Always scanning around just to see what edibles. I even see a breadfruit tree. I don't see any fruit on it though. And that's been the trick too of this. So much, you're gonna be able to pick this, pick that. You get told that all the time. Now the breadfruit's right there, but it's not in season.
There's the other thing about jungles that's misleading. You figure you can pick so many things and eat so many things. Not true. I've found there are places, just in North America and in temperate zones that have a lot more to gather and eat than in the jungle. The jungle is a lot of big fat green wet leaves, but you can't eat them. So there isn't that much in the jungle when it comes to just picking and eating. Now, I think, from my experience, I think there's actually more to we'll just call it picking and eating. There's more picking, the most picking and eating, tropical island stuff, right? That's probably the easiest picking and eating. But you can get more picking and eating in Ontario in the berry season than you can in the jungle.
I saw a clearing when I looked up. I was hoping the trail would go over onto this clearing. It's not, it's just going deeper into the jungle.
It's so important not to fall into the trap of only traveling the path of least resistance. It can lead you straight into a nightmare.
I'm gonna mark my own trail as I go. Make sure I can get back if I have to. It's really important when you blaze a tree that you do give it a good sized blaze. You want it up at eye level too, not down too low. You gotta blaze it on both sides because when you're coming back, you want to be able to see this. If you blaze it as you walk, always on the side you see, you forget to, that's not gonna help you. That's only showing where you went, not where you gotta get back to.
My challenge is to survive in this jungle. My way of survival is always a proactive style. Keep moving, cautiously and slowly. See what I can find. Always searching out the advantages and ways to make survival easier.
All right, try to pick out the trail. Not so easy, is it? Oh yeah, these guys.
Now, at this point, when I say pick out the trail that I'm picking out, you're really looking at tiny little indentations. That's why it's good to become a good tracker, because oftentimes the trail is not obvious like a sidewalk. It's very subtle. And it can be, I've followed trails for miles before that you could almost not see at all. And it becomes down to a very slightly different impression in the ground. And then you get to a section where, oh, here it is again, where it's obvious. But in between the obvious sections, it can be very difficult. And of course, this is a jungle. Depending on the ecological area that you're in, you know, a jungle will swallow up a trail in less than a year. You know, even the temperate forests of North America can swallow up a trail pretty quickly. And now you're reduced to just spotting those few zones that last a little longer.
These guys?
I'll just add to that, if you're learning survival, training in survival, you're excited about it, learn trail finding, tracking and trail finding. Vital skills to add to your survival toolkit.
Nothing more than a harmless millipede, right? Wrong. These little suckers bite. Get off of me.
The trails here are old and unreliable, barely cut out of a jungle that grows constantly, filling in the path you make and covering over the marks left behind by machetes.
I think I'm lost. This trail just goes straight down to a river there. And it's a tiny, tiny little trail. I thought I saw another offshoot way back there. I'm gonna backtrack because I don't like where I am, and I don't trust this. The only way to take a steep trail down is go sideways.
Important point there, you know, no harm, no shame in backtracking. And backtracking has saved a lot of lives. You can't keep pushing forward. It's like, you know what, this is not making any sense. Fine, go back to where it made sense and start again, start from there. I have saved myself a lot of grief by backtracking to make sure, either vindicating to myself that I was on the correct trail or correcting it for me.
I hate feeling lost.
If I have a nemesis in survival, it's my own sense of cockiness. It almost always leads me into dangerous places without many good options. The emotions of frustration and embarrassment compound and conspire to undo many of the better proactive choices I've made up until that point. My experience tells me I should always know where I'm going, but the jungle challenges that constantly.
I'm just going to say here for the filmmakers out there, this was the era where the drones had still not become ubiquitous. You know, you had to hire drone crews to come and film stuff, and it was all just getting going. So this is before that era, and you can see by the GoPro I'm using, it's probably version number 2 maybe of the GoPro. They were still kind of crappy back then, but they did the job for what their purpose was. They're much better now, obviously. But that's sort of the era that was in here. I was still bouncing between my Sonys and my Canon cameras, but yeah, no drones yet, and crappy GoPros.
I'm lost again. Trail's going down again. It's not a good sign. I take that back. The trail's disappearing again. And that's a worse sign. Oh, I'm locked in tight here. It can't be said enough. The wrong injury here spelled disaster for me. Just can't let an injury happen.
And that is so vital. You know, that is why Survivorman was a show that was calm, cool, and collected. It wasn't all sensationalized, jumping around and jumping out off of cliffs into gorging rivers, because that's stupid. And that's not survival. It's not what you should be doing in survival situations. So often I would be in a position like this. Romania was the same, where it's like, wow, never mind the filmmaking. I got to slow down. I got to breathe. I got to make sure I don't snap an ankle. And it kind of always comes down to either poking something in your eye or snapping an ankle.
Trekking and even crawling my way through the jungle on the island of Grenada, the need for water starts to become a priority for my exhausted and dehydrated body.
No, this is fresh rainwater. That's what this is. It's not a stream at all. There's enough here I can get rehydrated again. Perfect. All right, well, that's enough climbing for one day. I'm gonna make that my destination, see what's up there. There's water here. If there's food up there, I might have a spot.
All I really want to do is get to higher elevations, where hopefully there will be a change of ecosystem, and I might find more plants, trees, and fruit that are edible.
Ow! I can't get a footing anywhere on this. It's all slippery. Plan B. That wasn't plan B. Those are called...
Now you can imagine, you know, here I am trying to film this kind of stuff, and then along come those other shows, and they've got full crews and safety ropes and all that sort of stuff to film their stuff. Why I would watch some of those and go, oh, you got to be kidding me. This was tough stuff to film. It really is difficult to film yourself in these situations. And so the GoPros, as crappy as they were, they really came to my rescue, because I could leave them running, and they just got those gnarly ass shots when you're trying to go up or go down or build something or whatever, that I could not get by setting up a camera. There's no way I was going to set up a camera like I have right now. This camera's set up, looking at me. I wasn't going to be able to do that while I'm climbing up a rock face, a slippery cliff area sort of thing. So the GoPros really came to my rescue in these situations. I was glad they were invented when they were.
Flamma ants, fire ants. And I just climbed up over top of their nest, so hopefully nothing's hitched a ride on me. And two hands are not. This is not, all of this is either very slippery rock or it's just compacted mud and it just falls away. I'm saying this route is a no-go. Between the fire ants and the steepness and the slipperiness and this pack on my back. I'll try the other. There's a little ravine over there. I can't talk anymore. I'll look up it, go up it a little bit, and if not, I'm gonna have to head back. That's a long walk back.
You could see there that clearly I had been slipping and sliding and falling. I'd even broken open the GoPro camera case. Hey everyone, allow me to interrupt myself. I don't really like hawking merchandise and swag, but you guys do ask all the time where you can get certain items. For example, check this out, Hennessy hammock. I put a lot of time and effort into designing this hammock with Hennessy. It's their top hammock. It's an amazing, beautiful, comfortable hammock to enjoy for all of your adventures out there, so just check it out. It's got a full-size tarp, which was a big thing for me. It's got insulation, and I love it. So I've got the Hennessy hammocks. Of course, for years I've been in a phenomenal relationship with Hella of Norway, Hella Knives. And this is our signature knife, of course, the Tamagami. These knives are handmade. In fact, I've been there to this very ancient factory where I don't know how many, it's well over 100 years that they've been operating, and every single handle is handmade. All of the grinding, everything is done by hand. And these knives are absolutely beautiful. I also now have a brand new relationship, and you will see these items, new foraging tools that I'm designing with LT Wright Knives out of Ohio. And also, Chef Paul Rogalski of Wild Harvest has the signature Chef Paul Rogalski kitchen knife collection. Those are a big thrill to me, to have these beautiful items that we spent years designing, and I still have them available for you. However, if you want to go more the route of just enjoying the Survivorman legacy, if you will, then of course, go to my website, lestroud.ca, go to the shop page. Right there, you've got everything. All the swag, all the merch, such as my manual on survival. This is, if you want to get into survival, this book is meant to be a way to walk you through step by step, because I deal a lot more with concepts than I do with specifics, because that's really important. Once you understand the concepts of fire by friction, for example, you can do it depending on where you are, because I can't give you the advice on how to do it here in Canada and hope that it's also going to work down in the jungle. Things are different. So I've always been very proud of this book, Survive. So that is my survival manual. Also, if you weren't aware, I've got the book Will to Live. I wrote this book to, well, it was kind of for a lot of fun. I took my 10 favorite survival stories, such as Chris McCandless Into the Wild or the Robertson family and the life raft, and I basically dissect them with this book. I tear apart the story, I go through everything, and I even give them a little bit of a grade on how I thought they did. So I really enjoyed writing this book. It's a real easy read, it's a fast read, but I think there's a lot of insight there for you into all of these different examples of people who have either survived or perished. Speaking of books, so honored, so thrilled, so proud that Wild Outside, my first children's book, has won the Yellow Cedar Award, Best Nonfiction Children's Book in Canada for ages 7 to 14. I tell stories from Survivorman, lessons learned during those expeditions and adventures, and there are even activities they can do in the out of doors. So there you go. My new book, my children's book, Wild Outside, Around the World with Survivorman, has just won the Yellow Cedar Award, and I'm up for another award yet. And in keeping with stuff that's going on right now, we are also up for an award for our Season 1 recipe book from the series Wild Harvest. And if you've never caught the series Wild Harvest, check this out.
Hey Les!
Gotta watch some whales!
Oh my gosh! This perhaps is the most incredible kitchen scenario I've ever had.
Can you create a dish where the domestic ingredients don't overshadow the wild ingredients?
This dish is a showcase of how great these foraged ingredients come together.
It's the best when it's its own flavor. When you're making something with a wild edible, you're nailing it and not losing the wild flavor. Tell me that doesn't look awesome. 2 seasons right now, 26 episodes. In the United States, it's on PBS stations. You can also get it on this YouTube channel. In Canada, Cottage Life TV. In Sweden and Norway, on Matt Canalan. It's on National Geographic. Asia, which includes China and India. So my Wild Harvest series is playing around the world now, and we, with every single season, create a recipe book based on the recipes that we show you in the actual shows themselves. So that's Wild Harvest. And of course, if you want the DVD, you can get that on this website as well, lesstroud.ca. And let's not forget too, that I'm a musician. The CDs themselves are available on the website. The next release will be the re-release of the Mother Earth album on vinyl. But go on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, or on my website. You can go to the shop page, you can pick up all of my CDs. So this is the last one. This is my 20th anniversary selection. Check it out. Every film I've ever made, 76 films in all of the Survivorman, Bigfoot, Beyond Survival, music documentaries, one-off films such as the award-winning La Loche about the school shooting up in Canada and a healing canoe trip. This is my 20th anniversary, 76 films. And people that have picked this up have raved about it. And I'm really proud that I can say I've got 20 years of anything, to be honest with you. That's available for you as well on that Les Stroud shop page. Okay, that's me hawking my stuff. Back to the video.
Well, I didn't quite find what I was looking for. Long way to come to not find what you're looking for. This is reward enough.
Climbing has yielded me nothing advantageous, just more of the same jungle. If you look at this area from a plane or a map, you'd think you could just walk out and down to the coast. But that viewpoint means nothing when you're on the ground.
I'm going to show something here that might seem a little benign, but in the world of woodsmanship and survival, it's a skill that I value highly, and that's the ability to sharpen a blade.
I remember wanting to show this for years in Survival. I was like, you know what, I've never taught sharpening. And knife sharpening is another complementary skill set that you should have for survival. And there's a book, I can't remember, but it was written by the guy who was a champion, there's championships in sharpening. This guy was the world champion at sharpening. He could shave with his axe kind of thing. And I remember reading his book and it taught me an awful lot. And then I picked up the Lansky sharpening kit. That's what I use. So I'm sitting at the cabin in Temagami, Ontario, even here at the house, and wow, sunset's beautiful. I would set up a knife on my little Lansky sharpening kit, and I highly recommend getting those. They don't sponsor me or anything, but I highly recommend those little tabletop Lansky sharpening kits. Anyway, let's get into seeing how this guy sharpens his machete.
Dull blades cause more accidents than anything out in the wilderness. You want your blade to always be super sharp. That way the effort to cut anything is easy. And
take that note. The reason why a super sharp knife is safer than a blunt knife, you think, well, if super sharp, you could cut easier. No, with a super sharp knife, you can cut through things without a lot of stress and struggle. When it's dull, that's what people cut themselves on dull blades, not sharp blades.
Not forced. Now, what's happening here is I'm only going against the blade. You can see that you don't do this. Never do that when you're sharpening. So it's always in one direction. That's one thing. Same angle, keep going. What should end up happening is on the underside, I should almost get like a burr, an edge burr, because I'm not sharpening that side at all. I'm just sharpening on one side, so it's like the metal will curl over and give me a burr.
I think this is probably one of those scenes that I said to Barry Farrell, the editor, I don't care what you do, you got to include the blade sharpening scene, because I've been dying to get that in a Survivorman episode.
All right, so I've got my burr. Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, at this point, I'll go too far and I'll create a burr on the other side. I actually like to do that. I like to go too far and create the other burr and get myself a really beautiful edge, an edge that you can shave with. Now, you gently can feel with your skin, or what I like to do a lot of times is drop it and see if it catches my fingernail. If the sharpness of it, just like that, like the weight of the machete is right now on my fingernail and catching. And I like that because that means that it's good and sharp. And that's important. Because I've got to get some food. And it's right up there.
Going back and forth until the burr becomes a fine edge is the magic of sharpening, and a sharp edge means easier survival.
And so there it is. That's me being very happy, geeking out on my survival stuff, getting in a teaching component that I always wanted to make sure got covered. I mean, I don't know if you're going to see knife sharpening in any of these other shows, right? Again, the point being I'm trying to give you more skills, visually at least, as we go along. And that's one of my favorite skills, is being a good knife sharpener.
Right there, palm hearts. The great thing about these palm hearts is they're plentiful. There's all kinds of them around. Sugars, starches, tender and juicy. This is gonna help me get through the day now. I'm starting to feel a bit weak, but this will pick me right up. There's another 4 or 5 there. And I'm gonna turn the cameras off and have lunch.
Through this thick jungle has yielded me only a few palm hearts to eat, so I'll keep moving in the hopes of finding more fruitful areas.
I've been traveling a long ways, and I don't want to make the same mistake I made yesterday. I gotta start getting ready, because I'm sure the night rains will be soon. That's what a good sharp machete does. Okay. Now, I found a way to make this a little more substantial. Lots of material in the jungle. All right.
It has to be realized that building shelters takes a lot of time. There's no point to them unless they're really needed. It's a tough decision, but survival is always choice after choice. I just have to make the right ones, or risk making things worse by my own inactivity.
Sweating up a storm here, and all I've had is puddle water today. It's a bit of a dehydrated day, for sure. At least this way, if the night rains do happen, much better set up now. And one of the reasons for breaking up all this earth too and putting it that I'm not on a bunch of leaves is if there are any flama ants or millipedes or tok ants crawling along, just a little easier to see them in the dark.
If the jungle...
You know, also point here is that I don't mind using my blade for digging duties or any kind of rough job that the blade is necessary for, because I have and know the skill set. Because I have the skill set and I know the skill, of knife sharpening, a blade sharpening, whether it's an axe or a fine kitchen knife. It means I can abuse that knife, that blade, in a situation where I need to abuse it, and then turn around and sharpen it. That is the advantage of knowing how to sharpen a blade.
The jungle is intimidating during the day. It comes alive at night, like some crawling, slithering, dark prison, and only the morning light brings escape.
Like that? What the heck? I hate sleeping on the ground when I know there's big, nasty ants that crawl around at night. Ah. Here we go. Right on cue. Middle of the night, and here comes the rain. Has its benefits. Oh. It comes in really strong waves. And there's a big swath that just came pouring through, and now it stops. It'll drip for a while, and it'll probably come up again. It's boring. If I ever said something along the lines of "it's going to be a long night," because it's going to be a long night again. Sitting in the mud, hoping that nothing's crawling on my back. Oh, that's good. I needed that. Been dehydrated all day.
And herein lies the yin and yang of survival. The rain can soak me through and cause fungus to develop, yet it rehydrates me. It can chill me down to the point of shivering even in this hot jungle, yet it can keep the flying bugs and mosquitoes away. Survival at best is an emotional and psychological roller coaster.
There's not a rock in the jungle that isn't slippery. I'm going straight down.
There are only two directions in the jungle, up or down.
I hear water running. Seawater running. All right. Yeah. That's what I was afraid of. Sulfur water. It's hot. Probably upstream there's a big pool I could even get in. I can bathe in it. It's quite warm, actually, and quite undrinkable. I'll still have to find an alternate source of water. Although with all the rain at night, that's keeping me hydrated for now. Doing reconnaissance missions like this are really important. As I call them, checking out your zones of assessment. This is my zone of assessment number 3. Walking fairly far to see what I've got. Just have to be really, really careful that I don't blow too many calories going for a reward of very small calories. Sometimes it pays off, though. Oh, I do know where I can have a bath now. All right, I see the clearing up here.
That doesn't all happen very often in a survival situation. I remember in Arizona, one of the very first episodes I ever filmed, the very first out of Canada episode I ever filmed was in Arizona, and there was a hot spring. I don't think I bothered to show it in the film because it was sort of away from where I was doing my survival, but on the way in, on the way out, it was awesome. So it's amazing how many little hot springs there are out there, though, and if you ever get a chance, I mean, just soak your bones in one because it's a pretty sweet experience.
That's where I'm headed. Of course, I went after a clearing yesterday, got to the very top and found nothing.
You know what's cool is in Canada and in British Columbia, and also to the north, Yellowknife area, like the Yukon territories, there are hot springs right on the sides of rivers. So you're in water that might be 98 degrees and just loving it, and you're only a few feet away from a rushing glacial ice cold river. It's insane. I've got this one moment where I'm butt naked in a hot tub in a hot spring, people had gone and they'd sort of reinforced it with cement and stuff, so there was it was deep, you could get into it, and I was butt naked with a fishing rod, and I literally was 4 feet away from the river, casting and fishing and catching trout in the river while I was naked in the hot spring. So there's some beautiful places like that around. That's if you ever want to experience that. I'm not giving anything too big away because there's already tourists that will go there. But it's Pitt River, the Pitt River Hot Springs. Pretty cool place to go.
Let's hope my fortunes are different this time. Oh yeah, it opens up all right. It's got to be an old jungle farm. Ooh, I see a coconut tree. That's where I'm first headed, right there. It doesn't look promising, but maybe there's something on the ground. Whoa! I hacked into this coconut just because I figured, oh, it's rotted. It's not going to be any good. I see what I can eat right in there. Here we go. Ha ha ha! Oh! Boy, I needed that. There's 4 or 5 more around here. I'll hack into them all, eat them all.
You can go a long time living on coconuts, let me tell you. Super nutritious.
Oh boy, that's sustenance.
Tiny and old jungle farms exist throughout the island. They're often and mostly abandoned, but they remain productive with all kinds of fruit trees and plants, from mango and bananas to coconuts and pineapples. In fact, if you were on the run, they'd make a great place to hide out.
And that is how you come up across plants you can pick and eat in jungles all around the world. It's based on indigenous cultures, different individuals who've actually made farms. Then they leave the farms and the farms grow over, and then you can't even, in some cases, you can't even tell there was a farm there, except you start noticing that there's, you know, a serious amount of banana trees or something like that. And they're there because of humans. There's so much that has been changed and altered in what we would call pristine forest habitat by humans earlier on, perhaps 100, 200 years before. Vancouver Island was once an oak savanna. And the perspective now is that it was the indigenous cultures that actually promoted the growth of the rainforest, and years and years doing different things, burning the forest, planting things till they get what they want. So that's to be able to eat, to be able to harvest. That's how you come across things in the jungle. It's because it was actually part of a farm even 300 years ago, and it's long since grown over, but those trees are still alive and still producing fruit.
This is a mango tree. And up there are mangoes. But they're way up there. And these ones on the ground that have fallen down are just too rotted to eat. So I've got to find a way to knock down some of those ones that are way up there. I can't reach them. And I can see my way. And it's called bamboo.
Eating the coconut has given me a much-needed energy boost.
Come on. Ah! Yeah, 2. Check this out. Fresh mango, right from the tree. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I can taste that just watching this right now. There is no fruit that you can buy at the independent grocer, at Safeway or Walmart, that will ever equal the excitement of being able to eat a ripe fruit right from the tree, right from the source. You know, they have that star fruit. You can buy star fruit in Florida and, you know, in grocery stores. You can even buy them up in Canada in grocery stores. They're awful. But you pick a star fruit, a ripe one, right from a tree in Costa Rica, it's a whole other experience. Same thing for mangoes. Avocados, you want to have a real avocado? Go to Peru, have an avocado there, and trust me, you've never had an avocado until you've had one in Peru. It's like it's a different beast altogether. It's like eating avocado ice cream. It's amazing. So when I knew this was going to be possible for this particular survival expedition, I was like, oh, I hope I find a tree. I hope I find a tree. I hope I find a tree. And here we are, finding one after 3.5, 4 days into it, and perfect timing to get a huge energy boost. Now I'm going to start feeling great.
This is a good day. You hear about sometimes people go off and they live out in the wilderness or in the jungles, and they actually will slip into local areas to steal food and get right back to the jungle again. It's kind of what I feel like I'm doing right now. All right, I'm gonna collect a couple of these to take with me and look a little further and see what else I can find in this jungle reclaimed farm.
Though the rainwater I'd collected is refreshing, I always prefer to seek out good water out of the ground for its taste and mineral content.
There we go, spring. That's not sulfur water, that's good fresh water. Actually, it tastes like mineral water. I think that hummingbird wanted to come and get a drink and I'm in his way. This is shaping up to be one heck of a day of good survival.
You know what a difference a day makes, right? Look at that. The day before was struggling and trying to get bit by fire ants and climbing the slippery rocks and getting a little bit of water. And then you come out, and then the next day is survival, and I'm looking at coconut and mango and fresh spring water. What a difference a day makes.
Jungle area brings about familiarity and makes all the difference for survival. Evidence, no matter how old, of human activity, cut trees, clearings, all help to make me feel more confident and sure of what I need to do. Now is when my decision to stay put becomes the priority over constantly moving and seeking out more advantageous areas.
That is a vital situation. When you find yourself in a survival situation that starts to feel more familiar, like you find a cottage or a cabin, changes everything. It's the familiarity that gives you confidence, makes you more comfortable. When everything is unfamiliar, it can be pretty scary. And so just going into, in the temperate forests of North America, and you go into an area of the forest, however, it feels like, it's so open and beautiful here. It feels like I'm in a park. Boom, familiarity. Might not be, it might just be a clearing. But if it seems park-like, it's going to make you feel better. It's crazy how well that works, actually.
We're talking my speed of fruit.
These look like limes, but they're actually just green lemons.
Oh, that's good. And this tree, it's a bit of a distance from my camp. In fact, it's quite a distance, but I know where it is, and I can gather a bunch of them, take them back to camp and enjoy. Oh, it's a good thing I like sour. Don't do that at home.
Mangoes, lemons, coconuts, fresh water. With so many advantages, things are beginning to look up.
And this only makes sense because, in Grenada, in the island, it's not that big of an island. And so I was going to be in areas that other people have been through before. So you have those disturbances, you have these advantages that crop up. It only makes sense.
Well, it's raining again. Funny thing, all this rain, the cloud forest. It was a long hike getting to everything today. I know where the mangoes are, I know where the lemons are, I know where coconuts are. Most importantly, I know where there's some spring water.
Now, stay tuned here because we're coming up to a spot that was apparently controversial.
Just coming along here, and this area's cleared like I've been seeing. Jungle farm. And where do you see what sits at the edge of the field? Looks old and left behind, but there's a roof there. That's a heck of a lot bigger than my little orange garbage bag.
And I think this is the one where this dude who keeps trying to say that I just faked the whole series and everything was a big cheat. Again, this little whiny little Bear Grylls wannabe. He said, "Oh yeah, well, what are the odds of you finding that shelter?" And the whole point was, you'll see, I end up not even using it. I can't use it because it's infested with fire ants. But what are the odds? The odds are good. The odds are good at finding garbage on a beach. The odds of finding cabins in certain areas are just better than they are in others. I found a cabin in Norway because I was told you might find a cabin up there. And about the only time I knew when I was going down to actually get a particular cabin was in Labrador, because I was told when you get onto the snowmobile trails, there is going to be a survival cabin along there if you can get to it. And so I knew, I was trying my dog team at the time, I knew that I should be able to find one. But otherwise, what are the odds? The odds are good. What's your point?
This is great. Remember I talked about how people come out here and build bamboo huts and hide away in the jungle? Well, check this out. Let's see if it's just simply abandoned or still in use. Well, doesn't look like anybody's using it. Huh, except maybe now. All right, well, I'm gonna bring the rest of my gear forward then, because I still want to find a good running stream. And actually, I want to try some fishing. And if it comes on to pouring rain, I should be fine. Incredible.
I became proactive and found...
So this punk basically said that, well, I was cheating because this was set up for me and I knew it was there and I was going to just go to it. What a dumb commentary to make. If I remember correctly, I'm unable to stay in it in the end anyway because of the ants.
Hearts to eat. I found not only water and fruit, but also an abandoned shelter. These are the benefits of perseverance in a survival situation.
That was a long day, but a fruitful day. Huh, no pun intended. Between the mangoes, the coconut, the lemons, now it's time for dinner. So excuse me while I eat. I think I'm food drunk. That was a pretty bad song. Food drunk on a survival ordeal. It's a first for everything.
I forgot how much food I got during this particular survival expedition, and you do get a bit food drunk. It's when you've been a long time without food and then you have some. It's a kind of interesting and strange phenomenon.
This should finally be a better night's sleep.
Ah, you gotta be kidding me. I am standing here. I'm not sitting. I'm not lying. I'm standing. And why am I standing? Because this place has come alive with fire ants. That's unbelievable. They're crawling all along the bamboo. I tried sitting down on the floor. There's just, the whole building's covered in fire ants. All right, well, I'm basically in the barn now. And not much I can do but sit out here, because I'm not going back in there. That's insane. I think I'm gonna be pretty much just curled here now in the dirt and hope that the ants stick to the wood. Because, you know, ants don't crawl on the ground, do they? This couldn't be worse. No, couldn't be worse.
Oh, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and thus goes survival. From an awesome day to a bad night with ants.
It's a constant roller coaster. Sometimes for every advantage I find, I run up against another challenge. Only perseverance will win the day when it comes to surviving the jungle. What a night. It only rained for about 30 seconds. But no worry, me and all the ants stayed dry. Pretty much spent the night just sitting.
think that's the hardcore reality of survival is you don't usually sleep at night. So you sleep during the day when you're supposed to be looking for food, which is what I'm gonna go do now. I've got lots of mangoes here. That's fantastic, so I know I can rely on that. I'm gonna head downstream, see if I can find another feeder stream that I can actually drink water from and maybe catch some fish.
There you go. You know, you have to mind your priorities and your advantages and disadvantages. You don't just leave something as advantageous to a survival situation as a cabin is because you think you should keep moving. Like, no, this is, you know, and I can make do here. Now I couldn't use the actual cabin, unfortunately, but I could stay out in the barn area and still be protected from the rain. So that's huge, massive advantage. And I'm close to all these trees, so let's do it now. Let's go out like you know, a wheel, spokes on a wheel. Go out in different directions to see what I can find. And that is a great way to deal with a survival scenario.
Does this look familiar? It sure feels familiar. Up and down, up and down. I'd still like to find a substantial running stream. I know they can contain large crayfish. And finding meat like that to eat will go a long way towards securing what could be, if I choose to do so, long-term survival in this jungle.
This was that little wrist survival kit that I had. That's pretty much what I was hoping for. Fishing line, even a little lure, and a hook. I said I was gonna go fishing. Not for regular fish, crayfish. So here's the pole, and I've secured the fishing line to the top here. What'll happen though for fishing is I'll get some bait on the end, and I actually stick it into the end of the rod like this. I hold on to it with one hand, and my finger holds onto the fishing line. Then I take this, put it deep down into holes where I'm hoping the big crayfish are.
It was always exciting to learn a new fishing method in all of these locations I went to around the world. Just little different variations on fishing and hunting, gathering, capturing, and this was a new one on me. This was specific to the Grenada Islands.
Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Little crayfish. Feed them through the hook. There we go. Looks appetizing to me.
I'm fishing for much larger crayfish. They can provide me with a very substantial meal. They're like a small lobster, sometimes as heavy as a pound or two.
There's definitely one down in there. Nice sized, and he took all the bait almost. All right. Try again.
Even one large crayfish would make a big difference. But the process is tricky and requires a lot of patience. They hide way up inside underneath these rocks.
Yeah, another one's just took my bait. They're deep, dark under. I can't really reach my hand in. Get it pinched if I do. I mean, they can be this big. Crayfish. So, lose a finger. So I think I'm gonna head downstream a bit, explore a little more, and most importantly, since I have been in the jungle for a while, clean off.
Without proper hygiene in every survival situation, I run the risk of highly dangerous rashes and fungus development. Small ailments that can make a survival ordeal a horrible test of pain endurance.
Oh, true story. And another true story is you feel human again. Being clean in a survival situation just enables you to feel human. This is not a Hollywood movie. There's no reason to be bedraggled. You're trying to stay alive and keep your spirits up. And so cleanliness and being organized and being strategic in how you're surviving, all of that promotes your mental well-being, your emotional well-being. It's vital to surviving.
Downstream, a few hundred yards.
Not unlike life itself.
I don't believe this. I think I see coconuts. Oh. Here it is.
It's so rare to be able to get green coconuts so easily. So this is completely a matter of survival luck. And I'm going to take advantage of it by catching up on my sleep as well, so that I can think more clearly and make better decisions on what to do next.
I remember this moment. This was pure heaven. This was just one of those times in Survivor. It's like, oh, yeah. And I just laid back and caught up on my sleep. It just is. I mean, every canoe trip I've ever been on, I've done this. And in the survival situation, when you get this opportunity, it just like bathing, it makes you feel human again.
Without sleep, thinking clearly is impossible. There's simply been no need for fire so far into this journey. But with the advantage of a solid roof overhead, it's time to make a fire and enjoy its many benefits.
Doesn't matter where you are, how hot and dry it is, getting a fire going still requires patience and long setup and very fine tinders. And then for good measure, I know this usually holds an ember. It's an old termite nest. Watch out for fire ants here. Let's try a little trick getting a fire going. I've got a bottle of water and some printer paper. Paper that was used just to test the ink cartridge. So what's important is the black. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to fold it in four. I'm just looking for the spot where I can focus.
So this is one of these situations, kind of like the chocolate sand and pop can in the Kalahari Desert, where survival had now become a thing, and you'd see these YouTube things, oh, you can get a fire going this way. And I would be like, okay, that one looks interesting. I'm not going to practice it at home, so let me see if I can do it while I'm filming Survivorman when I actually need it. And so I literally pulled this one from YouTube. Sort of now at this point I'm being like a tester for these different ideas.
I need more sun. There we go.
I had the paper in with my camera equipment.
Ah, there goes my son. Come back.
I figure why not use it for the greater good.
Ah, there's a lot of clouds up there today. It's not helping.
That is the downside of the whole get a fire going with a magnifying glass kind of thing. You have to have kind of the perfect temperatures and the perfect sun for doing it. And in this case, too many clouds rolling in. So it's never as easy as people try to make it look.
Well, it worked really well on YouTube. Okay, what I'll try and do here is just simply use my flint and a piece of paper. So I have no magnesium shavings or anything like that. I think it'll work. What I gotta do though is I'm gonna rough up the paper a bit. Just get some rips.
So now this is different. Now I'm doing something that I am familiar with and I know can work. And I think this was also one of those, another controversial moment by the guy who thinks I cheated Survivorman. I can't remember. I don't even want to remember. I can't remember. But basically he said I cheated this whole thing, which is ridiculous because you can see me do it on camera, and it was kind of exciting because it was a cool little technique that I wasn't that familiar with, and I wanted to show it. It's fun to show. It was fun for me to expand on the simple fire bow or hand drill and these other different methods. I was never so geeked out about it that I tried to get a fire going with an ice cube. My friend Andre François-Barbeau, he can do it with an ice cube. You know, I know a guy who can do it with a teaspoon. I never went that far, didn't care. But this was one that I thought was pretty cool.
gently fold another piece over. Just gently hold it together.
Oh yeah, I remember he said because of the camera edits, you could tell I was cheating. This guy was saying that a lot. You could tell from the camera edits he was cheating. What an idiot.
Keep feeding it some oxygen. One more piece of paper. All right, now we should have fire. There we go, there we go. Ha 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 ha! Yeah! Woo! Now we're talking. Ha ha.
Just a simple technique, and like so many of the techniques that I would show, such as the water bottle before, if I fail on camera, I fail. What that dude who's trying to make me seem like I was faking this stuff doesn't get is that my failures were also in a way on purpose. I didn't try to fail, but if I failed, I let you see it. And because that's the true reality of survival situations, you can see, it's like, oh, he didn't get it, and then you're right there with me in these situations. And so often I would not practice certain new methods that I'd never done before I got out there so that you could see me do them for the first time. If I fail, that's just reality. If I get it, then my excitement is palpable.
Die, fire ants, die. I know you're inside there. Now that's what I call a meal. Unbelievable. Tomorrow, I'll just go downhill, down, 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 walk my way out of here. My time here is done. But this was effective jungle survival. I could go up and I find palm hearts. I go down that way and I find, a river with fresh flowing water and coconuts I can grab. Go down this way and I've got mangoes and lemons. And that is good, effective survival when I can have a base camp and fan out and find something in every location.
I just remembered now something that didn't make it to this cut was me climbing a coconut tree. Again, Barry would have decided, I was like, I just didn't really fit in. We were out of time. We got to keep it to the 45 minutes. And it wasn't an important part. But there were times when I would film Survivorman and I would overshoot. I would get more content than the editors knew what to do with. And that's a great place to be in as a filmmaker because then they can pick and choose only the best content. I'm doing that right now with Wild Harvest. Chris and I are going through, and Luke are going through the season 3 of Wild Harvest. And a couple of the episodes we overshot. It's great because then you say, well, this is really awesome, but we've got stuff that is awesomer. And so this one's not going to make it in. That's a good position to be in as a filmmaker. A bad position is to be thinking, oh man, we need another scene, but we don't have it. So how do we extend this scene? That's an awful conversation to have in the edit suite.
That's jungle survival for you.
Within every generalized ecosystem, every square mile has its own unique life to it. Within places we give general descriptions to, there survives a unique collection of biodiversity that, if destroyed, is not repeated anywhere else on this earth. Jungle survival is intimidating to the outside observer, but more intimidating is not having a jungle to survive in at all. The Amazon is different from the Congo. Papua New Guinea is different from Grenada. Though we refer to them all as just jungles, what makes any one area special is the fact that it's a deep, dark, dramatic example of a living and breathing planet. And in this respect, the Grenada jungle stands out as a pristine and beautiful example of the place we refer to as the jungle.
Cool. All right, guys, there you go. That now finally wraps up season 5. And I think tomorrow, or no, not tomorrow, but it's Friday right now. So on Sunday, I'll come back and do the next one. Oh, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be the one that I did with the fan episode, as we call it. So we'll get to that. It's going to be cool. All right, guys. I'll see you on the next Director's Commentary.